Hey guys, welcome back to L-Man Gaming. Today I got for you is Final Fantasy 16, the last mainline Final Fantasy game. So before we get into it, let me go ahead and give my preface. When I say the last mainline Final Fantasy game, you know, that just means that they're going to be putting it on ice for quite a bit of time. Like I wouldn't be surprised if, it's a 10-year period if this game does poorly. And I also want to say that I'm going to be truthful with you guys. I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy fan. Definitely have not played a lot of the originals. The newest titles I've played, I played a little bit of 14. I've played all the way through 15, and I'm kind of going through the remake of 7, but I kind of stopped at this point because, well, it's somewhat boring in some ways, as good as it is. Right, I'm not maybe the most well versed on this topic, but wanted to make this video because 16, it looks really special, looks really awesome, but right, there's some kind of fear here, right? What's happening? Where's the hype at? Like what's going to happen with the future with this franchise? So, as much as I'm not a fan of Final Fantasy, I have followed it quite a bit, like I said, recently. And I know all the shortcomings of 15, right? So, to understand the future here, we got to look at 15. And I played through that game twice, actually. I think it's actually an extremely well done game, but it's, bits and pieces, right? Again, if you know it, right, the kind of original vision that they have for that game, they didn't even get close to what they really wanted to do with it, and the game is just all like a big jumbled mess. But ultimately, right, it's you hanging out with your friends and going on an adventure, and it does it well, and the game is great. But right, a lot of turbulence, a lot of problems, and that's kind of tripped them up, and that's just why they've kind of revamped now for 16 and trying to really get it right this time. But essentially, that is the main reason, right? 15 was messy, and then right, 16 comes along, and then it's still another messy and not a great kind of sales, right? This is going to put this franchise up on the chopping block. But they brought out all the big guns, especially with someone like Yoshida P being able to kind of bring this game together. And right, it's either going to be, hey everyone, like you can't ignore us any longer, right? Like you cannot ignore Final Fantasy any longer, or this series is ultimately going to be put on the chopping block. Now, in terms of actually like real evidence that we have that there is some worry here, I will say this again. Remember, I'm excited for this game. This is one of my most anticipated games for next year. It looks totally insane, mature, brought up. Finally, is going to can appeal to the masses. But you look at the videos on YouTube from state of plays to official trailers. Holy shit, guys! I'm not kidding with you. The views are low. The views are actually really low compared to big titles. Like titles that you think really should be big, and this is one of them. So I mean, you're talking about some of them not even like breaking like 1 million views, and then the ones that are, you're talking about like 4 million views, which again is very low because you're having like God of Wars and the Hogwarts Legacy, hit 20, 30 million views. So that is absolutely concerning. The hype, again, like it doesn't really seem to be spreading to the masses like it should. And again, as we said, we absolutely do have real evidence of this. Now, as I've mentioned before too, right? I'm not the most well-versed Final Fantasy, person. I'm definitely a new fan, and it's probably why I like a lot of the changes that are happening in 16. But that kind of leads into my next point because I know, right? I follow this stuff. I know a lot of the old fans are really not happy, right? One of the big issues is, right, this real-time combat, and people are saying, no, it still should be turn-based combat, right? It seems to be this kind of separation between new fans and old fans. Now, in terms of how it's going to hurt the series, I don't think it's actually going to be negative. I do actually think it's going to be a positive, and again, create more hype, and it is going to get the game to sell more in the long run. But right, you see this internal struggle between hardcore fans and like new fans, and I just happen to fall into the new fan category, where what 16 is doing, especially combat wise, looks very good, and it looks like how they should do the rest of the games too. Like this is the new way the Final Fantasies are going to be. Not saying they can't go back to the turn base, but I think if the sales figures are pretty strong, it's going to be a while before we see it turn back to what the old fans want. So in terms of really kind of what's happening, right? It's still pretty early on, right? We don't actually have an official release date yet. We just know it is going to be summer. I mean, my personal thoughts on it are that, again, it's going to be fine. But at the same time, I don't want to sweep things underneath the rug, right? There are concerns. Again, the low view counts really is like weird. Even like hype on like like Reddit, that was like a popular site, and like it's a very small subreddit, and I just feel like it should be a lot more hype kind of behind it. But it's okay. Ultimately, I think once the game, people get the game out, right? People are playing it, early reviews. I think the hype will start picking up big time, and we're going to see like a pretty massive jump in terms of excitement for this game. It's just kind of people are waiting on, is it good? Is it good? And once people know it's good, hopefully the sales figures are going to match that. Because again, with what I'm seeing, like I said, 16 is one of my most anticipated games. Like Final Fantasy has slowly but surely, right, been turning me into a fan, and I think 16 is going to be the game that really goes like, wow, this is it. Like I'm 100% on board with Final Fantasy now, and 16 could be one of my favorite games of all time. If you've seen it, it really does look Witcher 3-esque. It has this kind of Game of Thrones vibe to it, Attack on Titan vibes. I mean, right? And it looks really mature too, man. Like seriously, right? This is the first rated Final Fantasy game, and thank God because it just fits the world so perfectly. So again, once I think everything starts getting in motion, people aren't going to need to be surprised anymore. They're going to be like, "Holy crap! Yes, let me play this game, and let's get to it." But my personal feelings aside, right? This game could very well fall flat on its face, and if it does, right? Again, the studio, Square Enix and stuff, right? They've been pretty open about it, right? This is probably going to put the series on ice for a long time, right? People aren't interested in this franchise anymore in this capacity. But again, I'm pretty hopeful, and I think we're going to see some good things. But yeah, just be aware that of what's happening to this franchise, and maybe put the game on your radar too. So yeah, guys, thanks for stopping by. Again, I'm definitely going to be covering Final Fantasy 16 more towards the release, and all right, try to keep it alive and right, let everyone know that this probably is going to be a really good game, get everyone hyped. But for now, again, appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for watching the video.